airbrushing does come with health risks. That's 100% real, and it's something you should definitely understand before you ever decide to pick an airbrush up. But the risk really isn't the tool itself. It's more about what you're actually putting into the air and how much of that you're breathing. And most people will reduce that to a simple idea like water-based paint is inherently safe, or I'm really not spraying that much. That's not really how exposure works. I've been doing this for 30 years. I've used both solvent-based and water-based paint systems, and I can tell you from my own experience, the difference is not just what you're spraying, but it's also how you're managing the work environment that you're in. So instead of just guessing or relying on general advice, I want to break down what actually controls exposure so that you can make a better educated decision on how safe your setup really is. The reason I'm making this video is because over the last few weeks I've had several comments from people who are really interested in learning to airbrush, but they're also concerned about those health risks. Some are worried about paint fumes, some are worried about overspray, and some even have existing health conditions. They're trying to decide whether airbrushing is really something that they should even pursue to begin with. Those are all legitimate questions. The problem is most discussions around exposure and safety tend to fall into one of two extremes. One side says everything is dangerous. The other side more or less just dismisses all of the concerns entirely. Neither of those approaches is really particularly helpful to those who are actually looking for information. So what I want to do is to explain how I think about the issue after years of experience working with airbrushes, spray guns, solvent-based and water-based paint. When I started airbrushing, solvent-based paint was all I knew. It's all I had access to. If water-based paint systems even existed back then, they definitely were not on my radar. Solvent-based is what I learned with. That's what everybody around me was using, and that's what I got very comfortable with. Back then, my approach to safety was very different than it is today. If I was spraying larger amounts of material with a spray gun, for example, I was much more likely to be wearing a respirator at the time. On the flip side of that, if I was spraying very little material, working on detail with an airbrush, I was not very consistent with wearing the respirator. And that really wasn't that unusual at the time for most of us working in the industry. As the years went on, I started seeing some water-based products showing up in the paint store that I used to go to here. And health considerations were certainly a part of why I decided to make that change, but that wasn't the only reason behind the decision. At the time, I really thought the industry was going to transition to water-based paint at some point in the future, whether that was from government regulations or simply through better product development. I didn't know, but I wanted to get ahead of the curve rather than wait until I was forced to make the change. So I started playing with some water-based paint. And honestly, I struggled with it. The biggest mistake I made was I was assuming that the water-based paint would behave the same way the solvent-based paint did that I had been using for years before that, and it didn't. The paint behaved very differently. The workflow became very different. I really had to slow down. I had to become more patient. I had to learn a different way of working. So there was a definite learning curve there. But over time, I got more comfortable with it, and the products continued to improve. I can tell you the water-based paint that we have available to us today is dramatically better than what I started with a little over 15 years ago. It's still not identical to a solvent-based paint system. I don't think it ever will be, but I was eventually able to reach a point where I could put out the same quality of work that I did with the solvent-based paint system. I was getting great results with water-based paint once I got it figured out. So the goal behind switching to water-based paint for me was not just to eliminate health risk. It was in part to reduce unnecessary risk where I could without compromising the quality of my work. And once I reached that point, making the switch made a lot more sense in my own brain. One of the biggest sources of confusion, I think, around exposure on this topic is that people tend to lump everything together into a term under paint fumes. But there are several different things being discussed here. There's solvent vapor, there's atomized paint particles, there's the amount of material that you're actually spraying, there's the amount of time you're exposed to that material, and there's the environment that you're actually working in. All of those affect exposure differently, but people often talk about them like they're the same thing, the paint fumes. When someone says they're concerned about breathing paint fumes, that's a reasonable concern. But before you can really evaluate the risk, you need to understand what you're actually being exposed to and how much of it you're being exposed to. Because different materials, different spraying conditions, and different work environments can create very different exposure situations. So what actually controls the exposure? This is the part that I think matters the most. Instead of thinking in terms of either safe or unsafe, I think it's a lot more useful to think in terms of variables. What are you spraying? How much of it are you spraying? How long do you think you'll be spraying it? How much airflow do you have? And is that air actually leaving the room? What kinds of protection are you using? Every one of those variables is going to affect your exposure level. For example, there's a big difference between spraying large amounts of material through a spray gun on a large surface compared to very small amounts of material through an airbrush while you're working on detail work. That doesn't mean one has risk and one has no risk. It means the exposure difference are very different. The same thing applies to your airflow. A room with no air movement is different from a room with good airflow. And a room with good airflow is very different from a room with a system that actually removes the contaminated air from that room. All of these variables matter. So when it comes to protection, there's not just one option. We've talked about a lot. There's a respirator, a dust mask, ventilation, airflow. All of these can reduce exposure to varying degrees, and they're all separate options. The important thing is understanding what problem you're trying to solve. Again, that's why I prefer to think in terms of exposure rather than trying to label something as simply safe or unsafe. And understanding those variables will give you a much better way to evaluate your own setup as opposed to just simply asking the question, is airbrushing dangerous? So how do I think about all of this today? Well, obviously I approach it a little bit differently than I did 30 years ago. And it's not because I'm afraid of airbrushing. It's not because I think everybody should do exactly what I do. It's because I have more information. We all have more information on the subject than I did 30 years ago. When I look at a setup, I think about the material being used. I think about how much of that material is being used. I think about the airflow and ventilation. I think about how long that session is likely to last. I think about what level of protection makes sense for that particular situation. For me, it's less about following a rigid set of rules and more about understanding all of those variables involved. And that's the same decision-making process I use when I'm actually painting. I gather the information, I try to understand the situation, and I try to make the best decision I can with the information that I have available. So my direct answer to the question brings us back to the original question. Is airbrushing dangerous? It can be, but the answer isn't a simple yes or no. The real question is how much exposure you're creating and what you're doing to control it. And the more you understand the materials you're using, the environment that you work in, and the factors that influence exposure, the better decisions you can make. And ultimately, that's what this comes down to. It's not about eliminating every possible risk. We're definitely not ignoring that risk either, but understanding it well enough to make an informed decision for yourself. And I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on all of this. If you're currently airbrushing, what does your setup look like? And if you're someone who has considered to learn airbrush, but you still have questions, let me know in the comments. I'd be curious to see or hear what your questions or concerns still are. I'm Trevor with Wicked Art Studio. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.